representing Team Dynamic Discs, Ron Convers.
We're here at the Piney Woods Open in Tyler, Texas, and I'm going to throw a lucid enforcer here, try and get around the corner, just barely catch a tree and end up about pin high. Shoot for it, and I was just a little tentative and didn't force the putt, and I should have. Hole 2 is a pretty straight shot. I went with a little bit beat up judge because I wanted it to flip flat. The hyzer, if it hyzers out, there's a OB creek right in front of the basket that's potentially a problem. This one is a really tight window, and as you get further down, it opens up. But there's like a bunch of trees out in the middle of the fairway that if you don't push it straight, you get hung up, and you got to cross the OB creek and then hook up, sort of hyzer out towards the basket. I left myself with a pretty good shot, but didn't quite get it. The anvil I threw was not quite as strong as the justice I'd normally be trying to put out there. And then I got some love. For some reason, I was having serious issues with my putting today. This was a triple X, and I brought it in a little bit too tight. But it still came out pretty well. It left me with a shot where I had to decide whether I was going to take the inside or the outside, and I tried to take a prime verdict to the outside with a hard ante and have it flick back up, and it just didn't quite make the corner. It left me with a little justice jump and then a tap in. One of the fun holes on this one is just a slight drift to the right, and the fuse, you just throw it flat. This is what a fuse does. If I would have put that probably about 4 or 5 feet lower, I would have had a pretty good shot at getting all the way down and having a look. But I'll take a 3 on that shot, on that hole every day. It was really hot and sticky, and I noticed I was pulling things over a little bit. My hand was sticking. I got to where I was using the whale sack quite a bit, and it was still sliding over. My suspect got drug over, caught the tree, and I ended up using the justice to chip up. This is a really difficult first shot on this hole, and I was trying to get just a little too much. I used a more overstable trespass, and I pushed it too far out, and so I left myself way out of position, and going for a big shot on the next one would have only cost me some strokes because I wouldn't have had anything. So I just laid it out there where I had a shot and then put it up under the basket to take my 4. This is a hard downhill, and ideally you take a big skip.
Nice.
And so I used a lucid defender there, and it did catch the edge and sent it, but for some reason, just a little bit low on those 35s. We had a good group, and Tony managed to get down in the water and get some stink stuff on it, and I wanted it out. This was a turned over criminal, and I just flashed the basket. It was really, really close. Left me with about 15-footer, and finally getting on the board. This is a trespass, and it's probably one of the better shots for me of the round. I threw it down the gap, around the corner, and you can't really see the way it finishes, but it's farther than most any shot I've ever had on that hole, and better than most I've seen in video. Unfortunately, I followed it up by using a disc that was a little bit too overstable, and I should have used something like an escape to finish with a less of a skip, but it is what it is. This is a par 5, so I'll take my 4 and be happy. Little off balance and just kicked me over. Didn't really have anything. Threw the triple X trying to get a little skip, and it was just that. It was a little skip. For some reason, I was finding the soft spots in the ground. This is that same trespass, and I'm wanting it to go out and turn over. You've got to keep it low because as you get down there, the ceiling comes up. But I must have had just a hair too much hyzer on it and got a really beneficial kick to put me out in a better position. Sort of a tight window, but I took the defender and threw for the skip. Everybody else got like 30-foot skips when they threw it up. I threw mine and it was just so fluffy. It got a little bitty skip, but I was out in the open. And this again was a par 5. So that one, it felt nice. We all threw really good shots on that one and managed to come out pretty well. Ballista Pro. They go a long ways. In fact, it went just a little bit too far and put me in the middle of a cedar tree. But I took my justice and flipped it out to the right and managed to bring it in. The wind was going up and down a little bit, and when I got up to make the putt, I had a tailwind, and then when I let it go, I had a headwind, and it wasn't good. I hit the band. Brand new suspect is still a little bit strong for this kind of shot. But I managed to sneak it up there just close enough to get the 30-putter around the tree. My judges were, well, they were flying good. I just wasn't putting them quite as high as they needed to be. This was a deputy, and I turned it over trying to get a little bit more turn out of it, and honestly, I don't think I needed to. If I would have put it out a little flatter, I'd have been much closer to the basket. And as it was, it left me at about 40. And I didn't really commit. By this point, I was starting to lose faith in my putting, and I was just hoping to throw clean shots and get a little closer. I got over on my on top of my disc on this one, pulled it over to the right. One of the guys had noticed we were talking about it. In practice, I was practicing the patent pending putting. And there's a reason why I practice that stuff, is because eventually, throughout the round, I'll end up with a shot like that where I have to turn my back to get that extra foot. This was a Fusion Raider, and I got pretty good hit on it. Got over the top 2 trees and then back around, and I must have caught, there's a big pine tree just before the opening, and I must have caught it with a little bit. But I ended up here with just a little jump setup shot. The OB is probably 6 feet past the basket. And I'll take 3 on that, and I believe that's considered a birdie for most people. This was an escape, and I left it a little bit low. Ended up catching the far side of the large ditch and just sticking in the side. And it's a straight drop off behind the basket, so I tried to give a little look at it without much luck.